In this video, I will show you how I approach a painting that's a little bit too large to do in just a scrub-in manner. I like to draw the basic shapes first. I could still scrub in, and I'm keeping the drawing fairly loose, but I like to at least get my placement in there. And this works well if you've got a photo or an adjusted photo that is fairly close to what you want it to look like. So with this one, I took a few quick measurements and then I drew it in freehand. It looks pretty refined right now, but I use my Q-tip dampen to clean up all the lines, and I end up with a fairly clean look that you would have of a drawing. Next, I wash in the brown tone of the little dog bed that she's sleeping on, and then go in and paint the pattern. If I get my pattern really established well, then I can be a little more free with how I apply the paint to create kind of a batik look on the little dog bed. This pattern is kind of an interesting part of the painting. Without it, it's quite simple. So I wanted to keep the pattern on the bed. Once I've finished the pattern on the bed, I start to just wash in the main colors. Because this canvas is a little coarser and doesn't really take to scrubbing in the same way, I find it easiest to wash in with just a little bit of added water to get my main colors in there. And then I can still wipe them out with Q-tip, the lighter areas, and I can still reinforce the darks by scrubbing later on. But by having the whole undertone done first, that will help me to judge my values and have a base layer to work on. Because the paint is quite thin, it will dry fairly quickly, so I will just wash in part of it, and then I'll go in with my Q-tip and lift off a few lighter areas. I'm not really worried about the direction of the brush strokes or how everything is going to look here, and some of my drawing, the initial drawing, does show through because it's dried already. So just wiping out some of the lightest areas. Part of this process is just to help me with the next layer, having all my shapes in the right place. Starting a little bit of the value pattern so that when I go in with the next layer, it's easier. Again, just a map for future layers. This painting measures 12 inches by 24 inches, so the dog is about life size. So then I continue to wash in another area, and I will, once I get that in there, wipe out a few of the lighter areas as well. By having this thin layer cover the white of the canvas, it also helps deal with that little problem of white specks showing through if the canvas isn't completely covered. So just a good thin layer over everything will help with that. This layer will be covered up completely with future layers, but it will form a base and give me some values to judge against as well. Just continuing to refine. Once I've finished this whole base layer, I will go in and start to add some darks to further my drawing, or basically establishing the values. The paint is still fairly thin. I'm just washing it on, slowly building up layers without being too careful about stroke directions or anything like that. I fully intended when recording this video to record some of the final layer painting, but I completely forgot and got right into my painting and didn't get that recorded. So you've seen me work other layers videos where I go in with the final layer and thin my paint slightly with water-soluble linseed oil. And that's basically how I painted the rest of this. But by having a pretty good layer underneath and all my values established, the other layers went really quickly. So here is the finished underpainting, and I will show you the final painting after you've had a chance to look at this underpainting. You can see it's fairly accurate already. I had already finished some of the dog bed she's lying on. So here's the finished painting. As I mentioned, it's 12 by 24 inches.